Hello, everybody. Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon as we talk through the journeys of how several franchise owners have joined Sylvan and what was their process of doing so. I'll welcome our group in just a second. I'm Nick Powell's publisher of 1851. If you haven't done so already, feel free to go to Sylvan's franchise development website, where you can capture and see many videos of discussions that we've had with various franchise owners. So I would like to have our group join us, Bianca, Jeff, and Melanie. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. What I like to do is I like to go through your guys' stories as an opening so that our audience can hear what's your Sylvan story, how did you get involved, what's that journey been like so far. So Bianca, I'll go ahead and start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
Sure. Thanks, Nick. I'm part of a team. My team member has, a full-time day job, so he's off doing something related to that. But we opened, actually, it's been almost a year that we opened up in a temporary location as a satellite last year. And we moved into our permanent location on August 1st, and we've been going gangbusters since then. So it's been a really interesting journey for us. This is our first time to own a business. In fact, both of us had been part of large companies, medium to large companies, our whole working career. So this has been a very, very different experience for us.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously a lot to unpack out of that. And we'll come back to that. Melanie, what's your Sylvan story?
Well, I'm in education, and we opened our Sylvan Center June of last school year. And I was working in the school systems. I'm a psychological examiner, and I was evaluating students for special education. And after COVID, there was just so many more referrals than we had ever gotten before. And my husband, it was overwhelming. And my husband said, maybe now's the time to open a Sylvan Learning Center, because we have been thinking about it for quite a while. I had worked at a Sylvan Learning Center back in the 90s and really enjoyed it, and knew someday I wanted to do that myself. And so we just decided that the timing was right. And so we opened our Sylvan last June, and this is what I've been doing ever since. It's been great.
It's awesome. Congratulations to the two of you. So Jeff, I want you to frame your Sylvan story because it's a little bit different. But after you frame it, I would love for you to give some commentary on how exciting it is for you helping people get into business for the first time. Because obviously the theme of today is how can we make franchising a little less scary? So Jeff, I'll let you give your story as well.
So thanks. And hello, everyone. And I just want to say, Melanie, no psychological profiling on the other candidates in the room, please, today. I caught that. So hello, everyone. Jeff Stevenson. I handle development for Sylvan Franchising. So I'm not a franchisee, but I wanted to take a different approach today. And Nick asked me to join so I could provide some insight of how we help you through the process. So I'm relatively new to Sylvan, been here since really the 1st of July. But I've been in the franchise business for over 25 years, both from an operations standpoint and from the development side, with several different companies. This is my first time in the education experience, but it is truly a passion and experience for everyone that's joined, and you can already tell by our two franchisees that we have on board today. So like I said, I've been here since July, working with our development team and assisting all of the clients, the future franchisees, when they come on board and they ask questions and we spend time, we hold their hands, we walk them through the program to try to make it a little less scary for them, a little less intimidating. Because like she said, if this is a first-time business for you or a first-time franchise, there is a lot of information that's thrown at you. So it can be a little daunting at times. But that's what your franchise team here at Sylvan is, to help you get through that with as little pain as possible.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. So Bianca, I want to go back to you, and I want to dive into some of your journey. So you decide that business makes sense for you. and I assume there's some sort of research into business or franchising. Eventually you inquire into Sylvan and then they take you through the sales process. But if you can walk us through, like, what was that experience like before you even filled out a form until when you filled out the form? And then after you filled out the form, we'll get into signing and all that process as well. But talk about your initial journey into franchising.
Sure. We are good friends with Kim and Greg Beck, who are actually former franchisees from Irving, Texas. Our kids grew up together, and I knew when Kim got her own Sylvan, her daughter had gone to college, and she decided to open a Sylvan like her parents had out in Longview. And she was always talking to me about it and asking me to come work for her. I'm also in education, Melanie. So she was always looking for another math teacher. That's what I did. And it never really was the right time for me until until the pandemic came. And I was also in education, and it was a little overwhelming. But really what I knew was that there is going to be a huge need. We knew that there was going to be a huge need in education. And along the same time, our daughter's in LA. We decided to move from Texas to Los Angeles to be nearer her and our wonderful son-in-law. And we thought, what a great opportunity. So we started talking to Kim as a former franchisee. What do you think? She told us all about her Sylvan journey. It's almost a family business. Carol Pope is still a franchisee in their family. But she also kind of told me the ins and outs, and she said, you might want to look at this other franchise with Jerry and I both being math majors. And we did a real comparison and talked to a lot of people on both ends, both of those franchise opportunities before we settled on Sylvan.
So during this process, what scared you? What were the hurdles that you had to overcome in order to prepare to become a franchise owner?
So, like I said in the beginning, we've never owned a business before. We've always been like a cog in a giant process in companies. Even working for a school district, I was just one of many. There was an IT team, there was the CFO, there were people doing HR, and now I'm doing all of it. And that to me was super scary, just not learning all those things, but being responsible for all those things in the business.
Okay, that's super helpful. And how did you overcome that in the process? What about Sylvan made you feel confident that you could overcome that?
Well, first of all, it was coaching from Kim, telling me you can do this, and there's folks to help you at Sylvan. And then when I started talking with people at Sylvan, I found out about the FBCs that were going to help us. But really what's been happening all along the journey is that there's so many wonderful support people at Sylvan. You have a question about how do I schedule something online and have it not show up? The FBC will find out for me. Erica will get that information to me so that I can keep running my business smoothly and not worry about some of those details and investigating and figuring out for myself. And even things like QuickBook issues. I can go to the FOA Facebook page. I can talk to somebody at Sylvan. There are people all around involved in Sylvan that will help us. And so that's the only reason I've been able to do all the tasks that are involved in owning a business without any experience.
Jeff, I mean, obviously you've seen a lot of different franchises, and every franchisor says, what stands out about us is our support. Very rarely does that really mean anything other than we'll give you the model to get open, and then you're kind of on your own. What's always impressed me about Sylvan, and probably part of what the brand doesn't take very forward credit for, is the depth of support. And you just heard that with Bianca. But how would you classify this? And I would assume this happens quite often, and has happened quite often in your career. You get a candidate in who's saying, I'm going to join franchising for the first time. help me feel confident, show me the team that's behind me. How do you talk a candidate through that?
Yeah, it's easy for a franchisor, and we say it, that we feel like we have a best-in-class support system, from operations, really from the development team from the very beginning, to operations, to training, to opening, and to ongoing support once you're up and running. But I really feel like we do. It is an amazing group of people who also share a passion for education and teaching and helping the kids learn, from top to bottom, from our CEO down to me. So it is a passion business. Our franchisees are passionate about the work they do, and we're just as passionate about providing the support and service to our franchisees. Failure is not an option with us. As Bianca and Melanie will probably tell you, the path to becoming a Sylvan franchisee may be a little bit longer, but we do a lot of due diligence on our clients, on our future franchisees, just like they're doing on the brand, because there's nothing worse in franchising than have a franchisee said, I've signed a franchise agreement and I'm open, but I'm disappointed. It's not what I expected, or I thought I was going to get this. That is a sign of failure for the franchisor, because not everyone that applies to be a franchisee is a fit for Sylvan, and we're not a fit for everyone that wants to be a franchisee. We understand that. So that's why the process may take a little longer with us, but at the end of the day, we bring good people on to be franchisees. We want them to be successful, and we think they are. We want them to be good educators and good members of the community. And that can only happen after several discussions, meetings, trainings, the due diligence on both parts, on both sides. So we take that very seriously. And then we feel like once we get the franchisee on board, that they're family. And we've known them now for, a couple of months with all the interviews and all the meetings. So the last thing we want to do is let family fail. And so once they're in the family, then we take care of them like they are. And I think most of our franchisees will say that we do a great job at that.
Love it. Appreciate that. Melanie, talk about your journey to becoming a franchise owner. What was your process like? How did you get comfortable with that idea of inquiring? Obviously, you worked for Sylvan in the past and had thought about it, but talk about your journey up to the point of inquiring to become a franchise owner.
We started looking about 15 years ago at opening the franchise. And at that time, I felt like Sylvan had a great name, but it was super expensive to start up. And so I was looking at all the different companies and was researching everything. And, then I came back to maybe I'll start up my own tutoring center myself and get my own materials. And I think all of that was really overwhelming. And when I looked at every other company's business model, it wasn't like Sylvan's. And so I kept going back to Sylvan, and it took a good 10 years to really think about, what we wanted to do and do a lot of talking about what would be best for kids. And then we decided on Sylvan, and the process was very lengthy. And there was a huge interview process. But in the long run, it wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be to start up. And so we went for it, and it was a great journey. And I'm so glad we decided to open the Sylvan. It was, I thought about starting my own, but, Sylvan's model and their support system, their system for reading, writing, math, study skills is already developed and easy to follow. And the training for the teachers, the directors, there's clear training for everyone within the business to go through. And so everything was just already developed. And so with me working full time at the time, it was just an easy system to jump into. And so it actually, the process was long and lengthy, but in the long run, I think they made it as easy as possible to start up, on day one. We were all ready to go because the trainings were so good.
Okay, over that lengthy period, which is a long time to go from I'm interested to I'm actually going to be a franchisee. Mm-hmm. If you knew then what you know now, would that have accelerated the process for you? Would you have done it faster?
I would. I wouldn't have looked around so much. I would have jumped in. I guess I didn't realize how much support in the system that's already there. I think I should have jumped in. Instead of, I'm an analyzer. I analyze everything about everything that I'm interested in. And so, that's why I wanted to go through the process. But my gut was telling me, something within every, franchise that I was looking into, that I wasn't in agreement to something within those systems. And so, yeah, I would have jumped in much sooner.
Well, I mean, it's a fair point, and probably, Jeff, one that we need to make sure is communicated to anybody that's looking at the business. It's like, once a franchise owner gets in, they realize the secret of the system, but part of that is making sure the secret is out there so that the brand can find more Biancas and Melanies and make them feel comfortable that this process doesn't have to be as intimidating as it might be.
Absolutely. And I think the key phrase with first-time franchisees is trust but verify. A brand can tell you everything that we think you need to know, but at the end of the day, you need to go through the system and you need to verify what they're telling you is correct. So when we tell you we have great support and service, we put you in front of other franchisees, we put you in front of the Owners Association, so you can hear it from current franchisees that are currently doing it, that we are backing up what we say we do. It's just not a sales slogan for you. It's the reality, but there has to be trust. And, for you to build that trust, you need to verify what we're saying. And I think that's probably what takes a little bit of the time. We certainly want to get to know you, like I said earlier, but it's your investment. It's your business that you're coming on board. Obviously, we got to make sure you're the right fit for us, but it's equally important to make sure that we're the right fit for you as well.
Bianca, okay, so now you're in the process. You've inquired. You've done, I assume, a discovery day or discovery process. You're handed a giant FDD to review, because I think it's valuable to show people what it's like to be in your shoes. Are you nervous? Are these things, when it's getting closer to real? Do you have nerves, and is that something that you had to get over?
Oh, definitely. It was a big leap for us to say we're going to, I left my job, so this is my only income. So that was a little bit of leap of faith, but also, you don't want to disappoint families. You don't want to start something you can't finish. You want to get out there and help people. So we wanted to just be 100% sure that this was going to work. One of the things we liked about the Sylvan model versus some others was the diversification of the product. The tutoring was, I always say, K-12, everything. We do it all pretty much for kids and for families. And we started this in the middle of the pandemic. And so that horrible pivot word, we thought that what Sylvan could do is adjust and meet the needs of families, whatever weird situation we're in, whatever they are. And I'm continuing to be impressed with Sylvan and exploring other options because business isn't always done as it's always been done. And I wanted a business that would last, not just be something that works for a short period of time. So that whole thing really gave us a lot of confidence that we could invest and really go in all in on this business.
Jeff, I would imagine this is going to be a continuous theme that comes up in the process, that when someone starts evaluating a Sylvan versus someone else in the category, Sylvan has a depth of opportunity to get in front of the customer base or solve the issues of the community from an education standpoint, versus in a lot of cases, you'd have to buy 3, 4, 5 different brands to be able to have the depth of service offerings back to the customer. So that makes it really, really challenging. It would be very costly to go that route versus joining a Sylvan. So does that turn into part of the why Sylvan is because of the depth of offerings that you can, and what Bianca just said, the ability to pivot in a need of crisis, or in a time of crisis, the pivoting can actually happen because of the depth of the product.
Well, true, and I think you hit on two key points there. Number one is the curriculum covers just about everything out there, and that's one thing that's very nice about us. I mean, we're the cream of the crop in the education space. There's no doubt, and it's because of our curriculum, and it's because of our fantastic people on our education department that's constantly upgrading our systems and in our education classes. But then also because everything that we do is online. It was in the electronic. It wasn't paper and pencils. We were able to pivot, like you said, very quickly when COVID happened. It was already there. We just didn't have it virtually presented. So it took us a couple of weeks to get all the virtual set up, and then we were instantly ready to go, whether maybe other brands, weren't in that position like we were. We were very fortunate to have the feel about that from many years ago to set it up that way. So now I think if one thing that COVID has taught us all is, while there may not be pandemics in the near future, there's always going to be constant changes in the way that we teach and educate and communicate with our families in our communities. So the nice thing about that is Sylvan is now able to do that, whether it's the parents bringing the kids into our brick and mortar store, whether we're doing it as a satellite center, where we're doing it in school space with special contracts with the schools, or we're doing it, virtually with kids. We have options for everywhere. So literally, no matter how a parent's child needs and wants to get the information, we're able to provide that forum for our franchisees to get that forum, which helps the community, obviously, and it helps the business for the franchisees.
Melanie, when you're in that next stage of the process, you're going from discovery to disclosure to financing to making sure that what your assumptions were on the investment were sound. Were you scared during that? And how did you get over that and say, all right, we're ready. Now's the right time?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm an educator. And so, I'm all about, the teaching and the curriculum, and I'm good at all of that. But, now I have to learn the business and the hiring and all of that. So fortunately, we do have a franchise business consultants that help us through that process. That was the scary thing for me is, the first time you get a customer coming through your door and they sign up, now what? Now it's real. We have to figure out how to get them in the system and get their payments in, get their schedules done. And that was a struggle at first. And so it was really, going through all those videos once again, because now I have to really apply it, and then seeking out the help from the business consultants. And then we have a technical support system, which have been great. So if I put a discount in wrong, or I put an amount in wrong, how do I change that? And I start to panic. But they're available all the time. And so I can chat with them, I can call them, and they're ready. And so that support system has really helped get through that hurdle of, learning everything at once.
What's your future Sylvan story? Where do you see this going now that you've been in it, now that you've gone through the process? What does your future look like?
So, I have a smaller building, just budget friendly. We went with the minimum square footage. We are actually getting close to capacity. And so I see us growing where we're going to have to get a larger center eventually. But, we're growing at a fast pace. The community was ready for the Sylvan, and they're so thankful that we're here. And so I think it's just prepping for the growth. COVID has affected so many students, and a lot of students were behind even before COVID, so they're even more behind. But that's the way education goes. A lot of kids just need more support in reading or writing or math and ACT prep. And so they're all always looking for some support regarding that. And so, I just see the growth even happening more in the coming years.
That's awesome. I mean, for your journey to go from I'm sitting on the sidelines for 15 years to now we're ready to grow, that's incredible. And Bianca, what's your future Sylvan story?
So I agree with Melanie. I think that very quickly will be actually perhaps more quickly than normal, turning a profit and becoming a very strong center, partly because of the COVID situation. But to open a new store in a territory that had no Sylvan for 15 years, we're quickly becoming well known among the families. And it's always fun when they say, oh, I went to Sylvan when I was a kid. It was such a great thing. It worked out really well. I'm bringing my child now. But they love having us here. So becoming a part of the community is going to be huge. I don't think we'll have the demand in 5 or 6 years that we have now, but I think we'll be so well respected and entrenched because we helped out when the need was so great that we'll be able to have a great business for the next 10 years at least.
Love it. And Bianca, if you, to the audience that's watching, if you have to give advice to them on how to get over the fears, what would you say to them?
Definitely just ask questions, talk to people, and reach out to existing franchisees or former franchisees. Talk to other people, even families who have been to Sylvan's, and ask them what was their best experience and why. Why was that a good thing for you? Just really get to know what you're going to be doing so that when you step in, it'll feel natural for you. This is a perfect fit for my husband and I. He loves it as much as I do. He wishes he could be here today. And he is one of my best front office people on the weekend. Like when he's here on Saturday, he is selling the business, and I'm just in testing kids. So it's a wonderful thing, and we feel like we've been here forever.
I love it. Melanie, what advice would you have for folks thinking about becoming a franchisee?
I would agree with Bianca. I think one of the best things I did was contacted other franchisee owners and talked to them about the experiences and the business in itself. And I think that was the most valuable thing. I also did talk to people who also were directors at some of the Sylvans. And so it was just so powerful. And so I just wish that I wouldn't have waited so long. So my suggestion is to just do it.
Love it. And Jeff, because you have great advice too. What advice do you have for everybody?
I would say, come on in. The water's great. Sit on the side and dangle your feet in for a little bit while you do your due diligence. But if you love kids and you love education and you love seeing the difference that a business can truly make on a community and a school, Sylvan's the brand for you. We're the leader. We have a stellar reputation, and our services and support are there for you. And we will make you as successful as we can and you can. And we got a great group of franchisees, as you can see, and they all want to continue to help everyone else. And we do too. So I would say now's the time, jump on in.
Well, what I find amazing is it doesn't matter who we talk to, if someone's been in the system for one day or they've been in the system for 20 years, everybody seems to have the same outlook on what the brand is and the modeling, the support, the family feel, which adds more validation to the reason why you want to join this brand. So for Jeff, Bianca, and Melanie, I'm Nick Powles. Thank you for everybody who watched this or who's watching this in the future. We look forward to hearing more about your guys' Sylvan stories as you continue your journey. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.